Hello, I'm Tony Guida. This is my New York. Koch, Dinkins, Giuliani, Bloomberg. You know the names, of course, but not as well as my guest today. David Seifman covered all of them, up close and personal, as City Hall bureau chief of the New York Post. He just retired from his brilliant career. David Seifman's Tales from Room 9, next. David Seifman, congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you very much.
And it's good to have you here. Good to see you. I guess we should start by telling people what Room 9 is.
Room 9 is the press room in City Hall. So when you walk into City Hall, if you make a right, the first room on your right is Room 9. It's right across from the City Council Speaker's office, and it's across the hall from the mayor's office.
Yeah.
So you're literally 20 steps from the mayor's office. Of course, you're separated by a gate and a contingent of
armed guards.
NYPD detectives.
Yeah.
But
and there are desks there for all the newspapers, I guess.
It's a relatively small room. There are about 20 desks, and they're literally one on top of the other. And it's
so
for
the
all the
Times
media.
Is there.
Times, Post, the News, some of the web-based publications, Politico.
What was your ambition as a kid growing up? Were you going to be a reporter?
Well, I sort of, when I was in college, I remember a teacher saying, you gravitate to the things you're kind of good at. So I went to Brooklyn Tech, where half the school was learning to become engineers. It was a valuable lesson because I knew I didn't want to be an engineer after Brooklyn Tech. So I kind of gravitated towards the school newspaper at CCNY, and I got interested in journalism.
What does gravitate toward the school newspaper mean?
It means you hang out in the school newspaper office instead of going to class.
I see. And you found a
and you
profession.
report, and you do reporting.
What was your major?
You write stories.
What did you think you were going to do? What was your major?
I was an English major.
So was I. I had no idea what I was going to do. I still don't.
I was amazed. In my senior year, I started talking to another student, and I said, how did you become an English major? And he said, I have no idea. We were both, this is our last year.
That's the story of most English.
And that's, I think, many kids, when you're that age, some kids at CCNY knew exactly what they were doing, but I think most of us were kind of, let's see where it goes.
Exactly. You've been retired only a few hours at this point. Have you started your book yet?
I haven't started my book yet, no. I'm going to take the summer off and relax.
Is there a book in there?
There might be. There are a lot of stories.
Well, we intend to get them all out here today, which is going to ruin.
Well, there goes the book.
There goes the book. Ruin sales of your book. So you get it. You work on the college paper at what? CCNY.
Right. CCNY.
And you somehow get a job at the Post.
Right. So I knew someone who'd worked the Post who was going to CCNY. So in those days, Post was an afternoon newspaper.
Right.
So the main shift was midnight to 8 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? On Friday nights, midnight to 8 a.m., invariably someone called in sick. Like every Friday. Like every Friday night. Yeah. So I'm a college kid. I need the money. And I get into a newspaper. So I would show up. And I actually showed up for work, which made me pretty valuable on the Friday midnight to 8 shift.
And where does the transition between, just a kid who shows up and reporter, how does that happen?
Well, they had a copyboy training program, and they elevated from within, and I went into that program, I passed, and I became a general assignment reporter.
Really?
Yeah.
And you covered things like what?
Everything. General assignment, generally, you're working midnight to 8. It's a lot of crime. You knock on people's doors.
The tabloid loves
Tabloid,
crime.
right. Fires. You go to fires.
Was it during this general assignment period or later that you tried to go undercover at some Brooklyn hospital?
Well, yeah. Well, when you're young and you're a reporter, you do a lot of things you might not do when you're a little older. So a young woman came in to the Post. She said she worked as a social worker at Kings County, had a mental hospital. Mm-hmm. And she detailed a litany of abuses. So an editor decided that I should go in undercover and make believe.
Expose
the abuses. So another reporter named Jerry Capisi, who's
good crime
well-known crime reporter, he made believe he was my cousin. And we went to Kings County and told them he found me on the roof of my parents' house. I was despondent.
You're mentally unstable.
Mentally unstable.
Needed to be admitted.
So I went through the interview process, and one of the psychiatrists, they ask you questions like, do you know who the president is? And I'd been coached enough to know what to say. But at one point, the psychiatrist says, tell me what this means to you. A rolling stone goes down the hill. So I'm thinking, is this a trick question to see if I know the real saying, or does he not know? It's a rolling stone gathers no moss, right? Mm-hmm. So I knew I couldn't correct him because that would show. So I made something up, and I got in. But as luck would have it, Kings County started a pilot project with their best staff, and they channeled me into it.
That. So if there were abuses, you didn't see.
I didn't see the abuses in the main facility, but even in the pilot project, I found some things that were out of the ordinary, shall we say. For example, they tried to give me, pills to take, and I just put them under my tongue, and I didn't take them. And most of the people who were in that facility were there because they weren't taking their medications. So I thought to myself, if it's this easy to hide the pill, that I could do it, they can do it too.
Sure. Did you write about it?
I did write about it, and we got a nasty letter from Kings County saying, you wasted all these resources, and by the way, we don't give out pills, we give out liquid medication. No, they didn't. I was there. I hid the pills.
Right.
So the administration at Kings County didn't know what they were doing in this model facility.
So you didn't, you got some stories, but you didn't climb the fence
Right.
and break in like Geraldo
Right.
did at Willowbrook on Staten Island, which I think he had done, I don't know, probably before that. Right?
He did that before that.
Yeah. Anyway, we were talking about City Hall and your work there for so many years under so many mayors, Koch and Dinkins and Bloomberg and Giuliani. Tell us something surprising about any one of those guys that people would be
I'll tell you,
surprised to know.
This surprised me when I found out about it. We have this image of the mayor is so busy that, every minute of his time is allocated. And you have to make an appointment, a year in advance to see the mayor. And clearly the mayor is busy. There are many issues in the city. But Koch, he's not that busy. Because a lot of Friday afternoons, Koch would be hanging around, got bored, and he would call the bureau chief of the Times, was then a woman named Joyce Pernick.
Great reporter.
Great reporter, terrific bureau chief. And they would just schmooze.
He'd call
an hour,
he'd
his
call
office,
in the office.
And it wasn't an interview.
No,
just,
it was
he didn't have anything to do. What's going on, Joyce? What do you hear? And he'd do that on a regular basis.
Did she ever talk to you about, what do you guys talk about?
I didn't ask her.
No.
It's between her and the mayor. But, she didn't make it a secret.
I wasn't there, but I'd be willing to venture a guess that Ed did most of the talking.
That's probably true.
There's a great description of Ed Koch's personality and how he handled himself as mayor in terms of the media. And it comes from the elegant Clyde Haberman of the New York Times, who once described Ed Koch as unavoidable for comment.
Right, that was a very apt description.
Yes.
And I remember once when, I mean, this is so dramatically different from today, but even though Koch had a police detail, like all the mayors did, he would, if you bumped into him, you were a reporter and asked him a question, he'd answer it.
Oh, yeah.
And you could bump into him in the hallway, and I did that one day. And it was a period when Iran was being belligerent against Israel. Koch, of course, very pro-Israel. And so he said, I said, so what do you think of this situation? He said, we should nuke Iran.
Oh.
Okay. That was the front page of the Post.
That's right.
You know,
and he just tossed that off.
He threw it out. Now, of course, he has no power to effectuate this. However, he's still the mayor of, New York City. The front page story in the Post. And that was occasioned by bumping into Ed Koch in the hallway.
Well, unavoidable for comment, and thank you, Clyde, for that. We in television, he was a gold mine for us because he stopped. If there was a camera, if you needed to talk to him and there was a camera, he stopped. He didn't brush by and say no comment about it, or I don't have time.
Right.
He relished the chance to talk to a camera and to talk to you guys.
Absolutely true. He enjoyed the give and take, and more so than any mayor I've seen.
I have to be honest, it wore thin with me, the narcissism, the how am I doing, how did you guys put up with that?
Well, remember, he was in for 12 years, right?
Yeah.
And remember when he came in, the city was, you could buy portions of the city for what it would now cost you to buy one of those apartments on 57th Street, right?
The city had just almost been broke when he first came into office.
And there were sections of the city you could not walk at night.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about Manhattan. I'm not talking about the bad parts of the boroughs. So he came in with the shtick, how am I doing? But he helped revitalize, at least spiritually, the city in the first 4 years, second 4. Now he's in the third term, right? It's a tough, tough job to keep up that energy level, that newness, and then he runs for a fourth term. Right.
Well, he runs for governor right after in '82 when you first went to City Hall. He's just been reelected mayor and he runs for governor, which wasn't the smartest idea.
Especially since he had just given an interview to Playboy magazine about how terrible upstate was. So, but I give him credit for where it's due, which I think is he had very good first 2 terms, and then there was that corruption scandal.
The parking violations.
The Parking Violations Bureau, where he got ensnared. It's kind of a tragic figure, right? He comes in and kind of saves the city in some way, and then what's he going to be remembered for?
I remember, I don't want to take too much of your time, but I remember when that broke, Jimmy Breslin essentially broke that story on us. He wrapped it all up with the borough president of Queens, Donnie Manis, who was a very good friend of Ed Koch. And it was the Sunday front page of the Daily News. And Koch had been having a news conference every day at 11. The previous week, he was talking about my friend Donnie, because my friend Donnie Manis was in the hospital with what we didn't know at the time was, he had tried to kill himself.
Self-inflicted wound, yeah.
So my friend Donnie. Here comes Monday after Jimmy's big headline, front page story, and which ties Manis to the whole scandal. And now Ed Koch is saying, Mr. Manis.
Right.
And I was standing in the back with Murray Kempton, and Murray looked at me and I looked at him and I said, oh man, all of a sudden it's not my friend Donnie anymore, it's Mr. Manis.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no question he turned on him. And there's also no question of all the elected officials who ended up being corrupt or who cheated or who lied. I think in all my years, Donald Maness was the biggest shock. No
question.
Had a scintilla of evidence before this whole thing broke. And he hid it very well. He was going to run for mayor, Donald Maness.
And
so I think
it cost him his life. I mean, he committed suicide.
I think it came as a real shock to everyone, especially Koch. He tells a story about how he went home, every night and ate a pint of ice cream to deal with it.
Right. He was rough on race relations. Koch was. I mean, I remember him referring to some African American figure, opponent, I suppose, as a Watusi, and he didn't help on that score.
He did not. You're right. And the dividing line came when Jesse Jackson was running for president, and he announced Jews would have to be crazy to vote for Jesse Jackson. And I think, for blacks, someone like Jesse Jackson running for president was a major event, right? They didn't want to hear that. And why he inserted himself into that and why he felt so strongly that Jesse Jackson did call, Hymietown, remember that? But he did it in a very inartful way, and it hurt him greatly.
He did a lot of things inartfully, but he didn't seem to care because he was like, I shouldn't say he didn't seem to care, but he never broke that facade. I mean, you never found Ed Koch apologetic about anything or looking ashamed of what he said.
How many politicians do you see who are apologetic or ashamed?
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it comes with the territory. They do not apologize.
Touche. A fellow named David Dinkins follows him into office, only has one term, and arrives proclaiming a city of a gorgeous mosaic.
Right.
But that mosaic, if it ever really existed, and I guess in some ways you could look at it that way, was ripped apart early with the Crown Heights riot.
Right. Crown Heights, and remember the Korean grocery boycott.
Grocery, sure. What did you think of Dinkins?
Well, I think, let's go back and think about that time, right? So Koch, black leadership in the city was out to get rid of Koch. They were going to find a candidate. And if you recall, they'd asked some other prominent black leaders to run.
The former state secretary.
Well, Basil Patterson
was,
he was a man of stature, and he didn't want to run, and his excuse was, he has to take care of, was it his father or grandfather, who at the time was 92. Well, he didn't want to run, okay? There were others, so they drafted Dinkins, and Dinkins wasn't sure. So if you're not sure that you want to run, you probably shouldn't run, and they got a committee together. It was headed by a guy named Victor Kovner, and they decided he should run and be the candidate. Dinkins finally acquiesced and ran. So he was coming in as the reluctant candidate. And clearly, that Korean grocery boycott was, and Crown Heights to a lesser extent, was a turning point in his administration.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the boycott. He refused to enforce a court order, moving the boycotters a block from that Korean deli in Flatbush. He wouldn't enforce the law,
his administration was beset by the issue of crime. I mean, we had cocaine and crack were in their ascendant, but they were at the peak, and we had thousands of murders, and I guess Giuliani, who followed him, rode that issue above all to ousting him and becoming the next man.
He did, but remember, even after Dinkins's poor first term, Giuliani only won by a couple of percentage points.
Right.
It's very hard to beat an incumbent mayor. And one of the Giuliani people told me, I said, what are you going to do now that you're in? He said, all we have to do is govern. So they viewed Dinkins as refusing to make the hard decisions, and they were going to make the hard decisions. And of course, Giuliani went the entire different direction when it came to policing.
Yeah. Well, he was a former prosecutor,
right,
and pugnacious, and many felt obnoxious, and kind of he had a swagger about it. I mean, sort of like, I'm going to stick it, punch you in the face. I mean, that was it. Am I getting that wrong? Or?
No, I think that's a fair characterization. Giuliani's the guy who wants to show you what I can do. I have the power, and I'm going to use it, and let me show you what I can do. And once again, crime, as you mentioned, women didn't take the subway after 8 p.m., right? These areas that we now talk about, the millennial hotspots, Bushwick.
Yeah, nobody.
No one walked in Bushwick at night.
Right.
I mean, and I think Giuliani, for a variety of reasons, never got the credit he deserved for really tamping down crime to the point where all these neighborhoods could flourish.
I think he did. I mean, almost to the detriment of Dinkins. I remember it was a headline either in your paper or the Daily News.
No, it was our paper.
Front page. It said, Dave, do something.
Dave, do something.
Yeah, but Dave did do something, and I don't want to get into this whole debate, but there's a veteran criminologist and a statistician for the Bureau of Justice, right, who wrote many books about crime statistics, and he did an independent study of New York police department crime statistics. And in his book, he says crime started to diminish in New York, NYPD statistics, in the second half of 1990. And it started coming down. Well, Dinkins never got credit for that, but I don't think it was apparent on the streets that if those numbers were correct, that was happening. And I think Giuliani does get the credit for restoring law and order, you might say.
Crime started coming down towards the tail end of Dinkins' term. And
well, this guy puts it earlier, but
okay, I'm not going to argue with him, but I will tell him, whoever he is, that
Patrick Langen,
that if you recall, there was a time, and it was after the murder of that young man in the subway at 53rd and 7th.
Right.
He had gone to the tennis matches, U.S. Open.
Yes.
And
from Nevada or
Utah, and he was murdered in the subway. Right? And it was after that that the Post had the headline, Dave, do something. And there was kind of an outcry in the city.
Yeah.
And Dinkins ordered a study of what he should do. And eventually this study came up with a recommendation that he hire 7,500 more cops.
Which they eventually did.
They did, but you know why they did it? Because the city council speaker at the time was Peter Vallone. And he told Dinkins, if you don't do it, we're going to do it.
Right.
So Dinkins was pushed into hiring those cops.
Got to get to the Giuliani story about the divorce. That must have been, catnip for a tabloid.
Right.
And it quickly fell its story.
Well, there were rumors for months and months that Giuliani and his wife, Donna Hanover, were on the ropes.
Yeah.
And Giuliani maintained this facade. No, they weren't. And why are you asking about it? And why, when the press would invariably ask, and why are you invading my privacy, et cetera, et cetera. And then one day, there was a reporter working for me named Kirsten Danis, who's now at the Times, an editor at Times, and she got the assignment to follow Giuliani to a routine press conference. Because we followed the mayor to every event in those days.
Yeah.
And they ended up in Bryant Park, and he was doing a general Q&A, and he suddenly blurted out, well, as you know, my wife and I haven't been seen eye to eye, so, we're going to get a divorce.
And he hadn't told
And he hadn't told Donna this yet. So when Kirsten came back to room 9, I said, you know, the whole press corps was there all over the night. I said, what'd you guys ask him? You know, he'd been saying all along, they're fine, and when are they going to get divorced? And she said, the reporters, these hardened Room 9 reporters, their mouths were agape. So they couldn't
so
get,
stunned,
they were so stunned that they didn't ask any in-depth questions. They just,
my goodness.
Well, they also had to run back to file it, of course.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, we're running out of time, and we didn't even get to Bloomberg, whom Joyce Pernick, whom you mentioned before, described in her biography as curt, profane, cranky, and willful. So I would like your 3 adjective description of Bloomberg.
That wouldn't surprise me, but those are not things you saw in public. And remember, this guy comes in, he's a billionaire, and now he's got to deal with Albany, a press corps, you know, a city council.
These commoners.
You know, he's used to, let's do this. Okay, yes, boss. And all of a sudden, you know, a city councilman from the Bronx doesn't want to do it, so you can't do it. So,
yeah, he learned about politics.
Right.
David, I'm delighted you're here. There's so much more we could talk about. Congratulations on a great career, and I want to see the book you write. I want you to come here first when it comes out, and we do an interview.
Okay, you got it.
Good. David Seifman, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you, folks, for watching. We'll see you next time.